So you said multiple times your story. You wanted to tell your story.
Yeah.
So what is your story?
My story? Well, this water. Let's see if it's good.
Cheers to No Days Off.
No Days Off. I love it. Yummy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my story, I was a foster child and I was born into heroin addicted parents. And I went into the foster care system at the age of 3. And I look at my story as something I would never change, you know, because if it wasn't for what I come from, I wouldn't be who I am, you know, and I experienced a lot of adversity and a lot of pain growing up. But I didn't allow that to steal my joy and steal my passion for life, you know? And my father actually passed away from a heroin overdose 2 years ago, and my mother's a minister. So, you know, it just goes to show what happens when you really decide to change your life and then the other person doesn't, you know? And because I experienced so much adversity in my life, I just knew I was meant for something great. I don't know how I got that thought process, but I just know that I knew I didn't want to be a victim of my circumstances.
Do you remember like how early that feeling came about?
Well, ever since I was little, I always tried to figure things out. Like if somebody would say no, I would figure out a way to get a yes. Or I'll give you an example. Like if they're telling me, this door is locked, you can't go into this event or whatever. Oh, I'll find a way, you know? So I just always had that in me, you know? And like when I was in 3rd grade, there was a basketball team, right? And it was a boys basketball team and I was good at playing basketball. And I asked the coach if I could start playing. And I remember moving from the States to Puerto Rico when I was in 3rd grade. So I was already playing sports when I was in elementary school here in New Hampshire. So long story short, he started letting me play and I was a lot better than some of the boys. So he would put me to play more than some of the kids, and the kids they started complaining. So he would keep me on majority of the game, but I would take a break, then he would put me you know what I mean? Like whatever, I was just better than them. Sorry guys. So then they complained to their moms, and then the moms went to the principal, and it was an academy or whatever. So the coach, like I could see the pain in him, you know what I mean?
Right.
Telling me that he put us all together and he was like, you know, because of the complaints that we've experienced, we have to let her go, but just so you know, she's better than most of you or whatever. And I remember experiencing that and I was crushed. So when I came back to school in 4th grade, I asked him, I was like, could we start a girls basketball team? So we'll have the boys and we'll have the girls, and the girls will just compete against girls. Yeah. So I ended up starting the girls basketball team throughout the school. So elementary school started it, and then junior high, and then high school. You know, so it's just like anytime there's a no, I always find a way to get a yes, or if it's a no, I'll create the yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's 4th grade to be like to create a basketball team out of thin air is that's leadership. Like that's recognizing that there's a need and then making it happen. So that's really cool.
Absolutely.
So in that time of like, so kind of like, give me a little bit more background on this. So you grew up in New Hampshire, you said?
Well, I was born in Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you're Puerto Rican?
I'm Puerto Rican,
okay.
100%.
All right.
Born and raised.
All right.
So I grew up in Puerto Rico, like a couple...
San Juan?
Close to it.
Okay.
Rio Piedras.
Okay.
So close to it. And then I was like 2 weeks, and then my parents moved me to the States, to Worcester, Massachusetts. It's like
wildly different.
Wildly different. And then, you know, that's where everything happened. The drug use, you know, my father abusing my mother and like all this crazy stuff. And then, you know, the foster care system came to take us away. And my foster parents that got us, it was 3 of us, like my brother, my older brother, my little sister. My little sister was 9 months. I was 3. My brother was 5. So the foster family that took us in, they could only take 2 of us. So they took my brother and myself, and then my little sister went with another family. So then I'm grateful for this family, even though I had a really difficult childhood with them. I'm grateful for them because they instilled in me what God is, you know, and I grew up in church and you know, reading the Bible, and I was able to be in a little choir with singing in church and stuff like that. So that's really important to me because I still carry those beliefs with me. So I'm grateful for that. But What was the question again? Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Just keep telling your story. Like it's fascinating. I mean, to see where you are today.
Okay, yeah.
And what you've come from. I think it's important to kind of tell like how you ended up here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So then from when they got me, my foster parents, we moved to New Hampshire because my foster dad was a professor at Keene State University in New Hampshire. Okay. So from there, he got offered a position in the university in Puerto Rico. It's a private university called the Adventist University. So Antillean, that's what it's called. So we moved there, and it's like literally in the middle of the mountains. Like you know, I grew up running in the rivers. My aunts and uncles had horses and cows and waking up with chickens and stuff like that. But in the university, it was like more secluded, and we didn't have any animals, but just waking up in the middle of the jungle pretty much. So that was a cool experience, you know?
Was it wild that you were from Puerto Rico and then ended up back in Puerto Rico? Like, is that?
No.
Was it like, did it kind of be like, oh, wow, this is.
No, not at all. I'm kind of like a chameleon. I adapt to any environment. So that's when I went into third grade, and that's when the whole basketball thing happened. Okay. But yeah, that's how I ended up back in Puerto Rico.
And then when did you end up in Miami?
Oh my goodness. So I ended up leaving Puerto Rico when I was 15, went back to Massachusetts, and ended up in Orlando, finished high school. Well, I got kicked out of high school because I was missing too many days of school.
What were you doing when you were
it's funny because like I've been on my own since I was like 15, just couch hopping or, you know, living with different people, friends from school and stuff like that. And I used to take the bus from Orlando to Kissimmee at 5 o'clock in the morning. So imagine being that age, barely sleeping. So I would take the public transportation, and I would fall asleep, and I would end up in Disney because it would start in Orlando, right? And then it would go to Kissimmee, and then all the way like this, and then Disney's here. Half of Disney is in Kissimmee, and the other half is in Orlando. People don't know that. So once I ended up in Disney, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm already missing school, and I'm like, I've never been to Disney before. I remember that when I was little, my foster dad was like, oh, we'll never take you to Disney. They couldn't afford it, right?
Right.
So I was able to figure out a way of getting in for free. So at the time, the employee parking lot, I don't know how it is now, but I figured out a way to get in through the employee parking lot, and that they would pass and just show their badges as they're walking in. Yeah. And that's how I learned how to get in for free. You know what I mean? So I started skipping school and just, I wasn't getting into trouble or anything. I was just missing school, you know? And then I ended up getting kicked out, and my principal was like, you're just another Latina statistic who'll never amount to anything. So, which I love that because I share that, and I really wish I could find him today, because I'm a true believer that people who have the audacity to say that to someone else, especially someone younger than them, is someone who's just hurting. You know, if anything, they should come to you with like, hey, what is going on? How can we help you? How can the school help you? Right. You know? Right. So I ended up going to like this private class where you had to finish on your own. So I did, you know, I didn't even have a graduation or anything. But yeah, that's how I ended up finishing high school. And then from there, just, you know, went to New York City and tried to start a music career, did a little bit of modeling, and then met my ex-husband at the age of 21, fell in love, and kind of put my music career dreams, I didn't care about it anymore. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So we moved to Miami to try to start a real estate business. And then, you know, my entrepreneurship journey started there, and now we're no longer together, but I'm here just building the most amazing platform that I could possibly imagine. And, you know, because of that divorce, like I had hit rock bottom. This was like 9 years ago. Okay. And I had experienced the kind of betrayal that I've never seen before. So it shook me for like 2 years. You know, it shook me for 2 years where I was being self-destructive, you know, because he was the only thing that I knew. And I just thought that this was somebody that was never going to betray me. You know what I mean? Right. So in that moment when that happened, I was like, oh my God, every person that I've loved have betrayed me, from being a foster child, from, you know, not being happy when I was in the foster care system to like just experiencing all these things and being homeless and living out of my car when I was in high school, you know, when I was finally able to get my own car. So just experiencing all these things, then I went through that rabbit hole of like, oh, everybody's gonna fail me. You know what I mean? So I started drinking and I started partying and I started, you know, trying new drugs and all that crap. And I remember waking up one morning and I looked at myself in the mirror. This is like after a good hangover. I remember looking at myself in the mirror and I said, are you proud of the woman you've become? And I had to say it out loud, you know, and I've shared this before in other interviews where if you're asking for advice, you're the only one that could tell yourself the truth because your soul doesn't lie to you. And how do you speak to your soul? Go look at yourself in the mirror because your eyes don't lie to you, you know? So it was in that moment and I said it out loud. I'm like, no, I'm not proud of who I've become. So what are you going to do about it? I'm going to change, you know? And I'm the kind of person, once I make a decision, it's over. You know what I mean? Like I'm committing to it, you know? So I ended up seeing like an ad on Facebook that said, reignite your life, your finances, and your future, free ticket. And I was like, free ticket? I always think anything free is a cult or, you know, there's definitely something they're trying to get you, right? So I ended up contacting a girlfriend of mine, Alexi Panos. Do you know Alexi Panos?
Wow, the name sounds familiar.
Kristen Smiles, Alexi Panos.
It sounds familiar. I'm sure I know who
they're motivational speakers. She and I know each other from back in the day in New York City, like 20-something years ago. And I said to her, hey girl, have you ever heard of this company, Peak Potentials by T. Harv Eker? You know T. Harv Eker, right? From The Millionaire Mind from back in the day. He's like the guy that started the events, you know, with Tony Robbins around that era, you know? So she was like, no, I don't know about it. But she's like, if there's one positive thing that you get out of it, it's a win situation. So I ended up booking my flight, my hotel room, and I went. And that event literally changed my life forever. And, you know, I was just surrounding myself with people who wanted to better their lives, people who were seeking for more, people who really wanted to, you know, start their own companies or already had their own companies but wanted more out of life. And I made it my religion for 2 years. I end up investing $10,000 at the end of the 3 free days? Yes, I did. But it's because that energy was there. I felt so good about it, you know, and I was like, this is exactly what I need. And when I went back home, I stopped everything that I was doing and I just devoted myself to becoming who I am today.
I love it. I love it. So when did you write your book?
Detoxify Your Mind.
Yeah.
I wrote my book, I think it was like 4 years ago.
Yeah?
Yeah, 4 years.
And what inspired that? Just your whole, everything you been through?
Yeah, so for me, I'm the kind of person that when I find a solution for something, I want to share it. I'm not selfish. I like a lot of people are like, oh, I know the secret to this. Shh, don't tell anybody. No, I need this. I know the secret to this. Here, let me tell you what I know, you know, because I want to see people win. And a lot of people, they're going through so much because they don't know that there's a way out, you know? And in my book, I made it a guidebook, like a workbook. Okay. You go in there and you fill out questions in each chapter. I ran out of them. If not, I would have brought you one. Sorry about that. I need to order some more. But in that book, I take you through a discovery process, you know, who you are right now and who do you want to become, you know? And then I take you through that and letting you know that there's beauty in the storm. Every storm the reason why we go through difficulties, I'm a true believer, is because once you accomplish the goal of coming out of that and having that breakthrough, you get to heal someone that's going through the same thing, right? So you can't preach something you've never lived. You know what I mean? So I can't sit here and tell you, let me give you an example, like being the daughter of a police officer, right? I couldn't tell you what that's about because I haven't experienced that. But I could tell you what a divorce feels like, being a foster child, living out of your car, getting kicked out of high school, right? So it's in that book where I share my journey and how I was able to overcome everything, and I give you the simple steps that I use. And it's actually simple. It's not complicated. I talk about your mission statement, how to find that, how to find your purpose. I talk about forgiveness. I'm a true believer that forgiveness sets you free, you know? And like 2 years ago when my father passed away, I was there looking at him in the casket, and it was my brother who I hadn't spoken to in 10 years and my little sister. And the three of us were just looking at him, and I was like, damn, Dad, I wonder if I would have told you that I forgive you if you would have stopped using, you know? So that's something that it always weighs on my mind. But forgiveness, you know, forgiveness will set you free, you know? And I talk about that in the book, and I'm a true believer that it's a simple book, and if you go through it, it will change your life.
I love that you made it simple too, because there's so much, I mean, simplicity and things like I think people try to make things too hard, like, or they overcomplicate things. So I love that.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know what's crazy? I'm on 75 hard right now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing 75 hard?
Yeah.
Okay.
My last day is Friday the 23rd. So I'm 8 days away. So days 67, 68.
Nice.
Yeah.
You enjoying it?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. It's been because I'm so busy right now. I'm in the middle of 2 launches, and then I've been traveling too. And I was like,
traveling's got to be hard.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That gallon of water and all this stuff, and I don't recommend it to anybody that has a super busy schedule.
Yeah.
I just don't, you know.
Well, especially you gotta get that second outdoor workout.
You have to,
like,
and then you know what's funny, when I read the 10 pages, I have to stand up because normally it's at like midnight. And my day is done, and it's been a crazy day, and I have to stand up because if I try reading it sitting down, I have found myself like falling asleep.
Yeah.
So I just laugh at myself, but yeah, it's been cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it's my second time around actually. The first time I only lasted 36 days.
What drives you?
What drives me? Oh my goodness. What drives me is for people to feel fulfillment. You know, and it's possible. I see that a lot of people live their life in a way that is not gratifying to them, and they just don't know that there's a better way. And for me recently, I came back to God, if that makes any sense. You know, I grew up in church as a Seventh-day Adventist, and you know, the last couple of years, I know that God is with me, and I know that the reason why I am where I am is because of him, but I wasn't really caring about forming a relationship with him. And when I made the decision of doing 75 hard, I saw my girlfriend, Sandy Glant. You know Sandy Glant? She's married to Jared Glant from Grant Cardone.
I mean, I'm sure I've seen them, but I don't know.
Anyways, she's one of my best friends, and she's posting a video on Instagram. She goes, and I just moved to a new spot that I'm in love with, and she goes, hey guys, I'm going to start 75 hard. Anybody that wants to join? And I was like, I want to join, you know what I mean? Because new place, new habits, what can I let go of, you know what I mean? And always accountability always helps. You know, I prefer doing things with accountability than doing it alone. You know what I mean? You're checking in with someone, they're making sure you're on point, you're making sure they're on point, you know what I mean?
That's the whole premise of my gyms too, is accountability.
Exactly. So then it was in that same day that I was like, okay, I'm starting 75 hard tomorrow. It was a Sunday, she said that. Monday, we were starting it. So I went to the supermarket. I'm over there getting the stuff, everything, so I could meal prep. And then I saw a friend of mine, Andrew Loringer, posting about prayer group at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, damn, that sounds like fun. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm starting 75 hard, and I'm going to start the prayer group. And let me tell you something. It was in the second day that I just felt the presence of the Holy Spirit. I don't know if you know what your beliefs are or anything, but I have felt the presence of the Holy Spirit before. I grew up in church, and I was like, oh my goodness. And then I just started feeling that all the bad habits that I had in my life, they were easy to let go of. Like I wasn't missing them. I didn't care to like meet up with some friends for like happy hour, or, you know, just go to places that they're not good for my growth. You know what I mean? Right. And so I was just like, continue praying. And I was like, I want you, Lord, to show me the way. Show me the way so I can create more impact. And I cannot even begin to explain to you how many doors have been opening up for me. Like door after door. And I'm talking about 68 days now. Right. The doors that have been opening up for me, if I were to tell you, it would blow your mind. And I can't right now because we're still in the process of creating some, you know, contracts and stuff like that. But I was like, oh, okay, God, this is what you wanted me, so I could go so I could go to the next level, you know? And that's what drives me right now, is to share with people the goodness of God, so they know that he can open doors and he can heal you. It doesn't matter what you're going through. And to see the transformation of people that have gone into the prayer group, it started with 6 people. It started with 6 people 3 months ago, and now it's at almost 400 people in the WhatsApp group. And every morning from 5 a.m. to 5:20, we gather together. Obviously, not everybody shows up. It's like it gets to like 80 people, 90 people, whatever. But just feeling that energy. Everybody's on a Zoom. You don't have to show your face, but we just devote 20 minutes to God. And I'm not being quiet about this. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm like, you really want fulfillment in your life. It doesn't matter what you're going through. I'm going to honor him even in my moments of weakness. So I
love that. I did a podcast yesterday, and I was talking about how when you have true faith, then you have true favor. So when you live with faith, then you know that you have God's hand on your life. So doors open, So.
You know what's funny? I'm like walking around now, like I feel like I have a superpower, and I've been building Epic Talks without God at the forefront of my life, and I'm getting emotional. Sorry. And I was going through some moments where I was just like, oh my God, wins, losses. People, showing up in ways that I wouldn't show up. You know what I mean? And I remember just asking for help, like to God. I'm like, Lord, guide me, because my vision is big. I want to continue impacting people's lives and seeing how people are being transformed, their businesses. People are finding marriages through Epic Talks. I have this guy that raised $1.5 million because he spoke at Epic Talks. Like people, they're getting access to my speakers, and these are speakers that are transforming people's lives and businesses, right? And I'm like, Lord, how can I impact people more? And it's ever since I decided to put him at the front that I'm getting the answers that I was looking for. And I just want to share that with people, for them to know that if you're struggling and you're feeling like forsaken and you're feeling like this is the darkest place you've ever been in, just seek God and he'll be there for you.
I love that. So not every Sunday, but most Sundays, I do church before church with my pastor. So I train him on Sunday mornings at 5 a.m.
Oh, who's your pastor?
Rich Wilkerson.
Oh, you go to VU?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So the prayer group that I'm in, Andrew Loringer from The Move?
Yes.
Okay, he's like one of my best friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
He started coming to Epic Talks when I first started it.
No way.
So because of him, I found out about prayer group. And you know what's crazy? 7 months ago, I texted him. And I'd call him Drewski. I was like, Drewski, I'm ready. And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go to church.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, we're going this Sunday. And for some reason, I didn't go. And then I just there was still like some kind of wall, right? And it was when he posted about prayer group, I was like, all right, I'm starting prayer group. And it's changed my life.
Are you going to VU?
No, I'm not.
No?
I haven't gone to church yet.
Oh, you still haven't gone to church?
No, I still haven't gone to church.
You got to come.
Yeah, I will.
I mean, it's a fantastic community.
Yeah.
You would love it.
You know what's crazy? When
you should get Rich on your Epic Talks too.
I will. I want to.
You should get me and him both on there. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Rich is one of the best communicators on the planet.
Okay.
Like even outside of church, like he's one of the most gifted communicators and leaders that I've ever been around. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I've been to VU before, years ago though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be ready to come soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned your dog.
Yes.
And just recently having surgery.
Yes.
Yeah. What have you learned from that experience?
So it's crazy because this was actually what are we? Yeah, exactly 2 years ago. For some reason, I was thinking it was like a year ago. It was 2 years ago. Okay. Time goes by so fast. It's crazy.
Fast. Even faster the older you get. So.
Right. So I get a phone call on a Monday in July. I can't remember exactly what date it was. Maybe 18th or 19th, something like that. And it was my biological aunt who I hadn't spoken to in years. And she's like, hey, your father just passed away. And when she said that, I knew that it was from a heroin overdose. Because, I'm like, he's 62 years old. Like, what is he going to die of? You know what I mean? And then that Monday he passes away. Friday, my little Jack, who was 17, he died on Friday. Wow. So my dad on Monday, my dog on Friday. He died in my arms too, which was crazy. I never experienced a soul take its last breath. Yeah, it was crazy. And then when he passed away, Blackie is the one that I have now. He's 14. I had to take him to the emergency room like a couple of weeks later. And I was like, oh my God, not you now. You know what I mean? So I went from my dad, my dog Jack, who was already coughing for a really long time. And then he had cancer. I ended up finding out about his cancer a week before he passed away. And a little frustrated with the veterinarians because I feel like they knew and they were just taking my money after thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. And then Blackie, my vet goes, he needs emergency surgery right now. His gallbladder, right? So his eyes were starting to turn yellow and all this stuff. So it was like back to back to back, and end up taking him to the emergency room to have emergency surgery. And they were like, hey, while he was on the table, he needs a blood transfusion. Is it a yes or a no? And I was like, if he doesn't get a blood transfusion, he's gonna die. I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? And then it turned from him being into that surgery, turning into a blood transfusion, to then him having to be there an extra 8 days. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, you know, and he survived that surgery, and the vet said, I don't understand how this 3-pound little nugget survived, because he's like, bigger dogs that went through what he just went through, pretty much, they die. And for me, the way I looked at everything, I felt like my dad was Jack and Blackie was me. You know, just being resilient and making sure that he was just going to fight the good fight, you know? And my greatest lesson from all of this is to be resilient and not give up. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you go through. You know what I mean? Experiencing my dad's death, and then Jack. And then that Wednesday, I was supposed to have Epic Talks.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I had a whole bunch of my girlfriends are like, oh, just cancel Epic Talks. And for me, it was like, it doesn't matter what you go through. You don't cancel what God put you here to do. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you're going through. You know, unless I'm the one that's in the hospital or I'm the one that's dead, my event is still happening. So it was about strength and resilience and not giving up. And that was my biggest takeaway. And my dog is doing good now. And then, you know, I'm just a fighter at life. Just like he fought for his life, I fight for mine. And I fight for anybody that's part of my community and is a friend of mine.
What advice would you give to young women who are striving for a life of fulfillment and pursuing their dreams? And what are some key principles or strategies that you can use to overcome obstacles and achieve their goals? Or what is some of the strategies for them to... basically, what advice do you have for young women out there?
The best advice that I could give you for young women out there that are watching this podcast is, before you go into any type of relationship, heal yourself. Heal yourself so you don't bring your trauma into that relationship that's going to jeopardize maybe the good person or the good man, or, you know, and for men, the good woman that you might have in your life. So heal yourself and don't be in a rush. You know, so many women are in a rush to get married or to have a baby. You know, I'm in my 40s, you know, I'm 42 years old, and I was married for 10 years. And then, you know, I ended up getting into a relationship that I thought that was the person that I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And I noticed that I hadn't healed from my marriage, and I brought whatever trauma I experienced in that marriage into my relationship. You know what I mean? So a lot of people think, oh, it's fine, it was just a breakup. No, there's a reason why that breakup happened. You know, there was a reason why you were reacting a certain way. And for me, the most important thing is healing. Get yourself help, you know, pray to God, get yourself into personal development, because if you don't focus on your healing, the same story is going to happen to you over and over again. And if you notice, a lot of women, you see them in the same relationships over and over and over and over again, because they haven't healed from what hurt them. And sometimes we think to ourselves, it's them. No, it's you. Especially when you're pointing the finger at someone else, there's 3 pointing back at you. So my best experience is my best advice, don't be in a rush. Take your time and heal yourself from your traumas. And things don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. This was great.
Thank you.
You're great.